start. All right, can we get started now? Prof,
Yes,
are you okay?
yes, I'm ready.
All right, awesome. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Yeah, welcome to our Self-Care Saturday. And today, our Self-Care Saturday is brought to you by Prof. Muhammad. Is it Teluk Senangin, Prof? Are you there?
Yes, it is in Pantai Remis, Teluk Senangin beach. And so there are many campsites and also chalets around this place.
Nice. We wish we were with you there, but yes, definitely in spirit. Right. I think Prof is bringing us around a virtual tour as well. So yeah, glad to see you out and about. Yeah, it's really important to make time for yeah, self-care, and you're showing it by you're leading by example, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah, I just want to wish yeah, everybody happy weekend, happy Saturday, and yeah, wherever you are, we want everybody to stay safe. Definitely we also want you to be able to yeah, take the next step for the new norm, right? Because I think in a lot of states, including KL and Selangor, we are actually in our phase 2, so a lot of people are out there right now, but yeah, make sure to stay safe. And yeah, for to continue our session for this self-care Saturday, our theme for September is self-mastery upon Merdeka. So we spoke about the first week where Prof. Muhammad shared about Merdeka me, right? And the difference between personal, we talk about the independence for the nation, but what about the independence for ourselves? And I think we already took the first step, self-mastery. We went through the different dimensions that is important for us, you know, whether it's physical, emotional, mentally, spiritual. So those are very important. So I hope that we reflected through our week, and to our second week of September. Today we'll be talking about building resources, right? And basically, just to give you a bit of synopsis before we let Prof continue, it's knowing and learning to be skillful in exploring opportunities. So what it is to be building resources. So if you're tuning in on Zoom, on Facebook, say hello, and you have any questions, please do type in the chat. And yes, Prof, the floor is yours, and I also have your slides ready. So yes, Prof, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Felicia. Thank you so much. Once again, a very good evening to everyone. And Assalamualaikum. And may peace be upon all of us. We be safe and, you know, be peaceful and harmony within ourselves. And so this is the session that we look into ourselves, how we can be better. So I will use the first 5 minutes to recapitulate on the slide that we have last week, which I was not able to show you. So I think I will just take these 5 minutes to go through the first 16 or 15 slides quickly before we move on to the topics that we have for this week. All right, so basically the topic was self-mastery upon Merdeka. And so we are looking into what it is meant to be master for yourself. As you know, self-mastery is the DNA for life mastery. So if you are already master of yourself, then actually you can be the master of your life. And subsequently, you know, self-mastery. Can we move to the next slide? Self-mastery is very broad term, as you can see, but it covers your personal and professional life. So it means that you have to develop many areas. So as you know, the many areas is the thing that we need to build up to the optimum potential, so that we are only not living only in one domain, but we have many other domains that we need to enhance and empower ourselves to be best and the better one from now on. So as you know, the 4 domain of self-mastery, before that, this is just a caption. The next slide, please. The caption is self-mastery is the challenge of transforming yourself from own worst enemy into your greatest ally. This is very important. Actually, you are against yourself, not anyone else. As you know, it is you who makes or breaks yourself. It is you who determine who you are and what you can be. So you are the one who either become the greatest enemy to yourself, or actually you are the one who create the greatest ally for yourself. And subsequently, you know the four domain of self-mastery. The next slide. There will be the body domain, the physical energy, the mind domain, the mental focus, the heart domain, the emotions, and the soul domain, the spiritual meaning to your life. So these four elements is very important. So you must build them up all together. There's no way, no such thing as only one area will go so far ahead, but the other areas is left behind. Then you won't become a holistic, healthy, peaceful, happy person. So the fourth domain is the one that you need to build up together. And here we are to assist you and to share with you as much as possible. All of us have the actually the ability. As I said last week, all of us are great person. Possibly the only thing is that we actually overlook ourselves in our greatness. So can you go to the next slide? We talked about the 7 steps of self-mastery. We started with being self-aware, knowing who you are, what are your objectives, and that is only be done through reflection and introspection. If you don't sit down at the end of the day or within the day itself to reflect, to see what is going on, and to then introspect, to have the insight about yourself, you might not be aware of what is going on with yourself. Subsequently, you need to explore knowing your thoughts, knowing your feelings, knowing your behavior, and knowing your motivation, and always ask the question why. Then you can discover yourself. You can discover your authentic self. What is the true self? Then you can learn about yourself more and you know who you are. Then only then you understand yourself better. So the fourth level will be self-understanding. And once you understand yourself, you have to accept yourself without feeling, apologetic about what have you done. You don't self-punish. You be compassionate with yourself. You understand, and then you have what we call you then develop self-love. And that is the fifth level. You become, you can take care of your own needs. You know that is how to look after yourself and how subsequently for your well-being to be better with other person around you. So quite a lot of time we always tend to sacrifice for other person, but unfortunately when we sacrifice for other person, we sacrifice ourselves badly, right? Then we must develop what we call the self-love, and from the self-love only then we can transform, we can change, we can allow ourselves to change to become the new person that actually you desire to be. I noticed that most of us actually wanted to be a different person. Unfortunately, we are stuck with what we call the other centeredness. Our principle centeredness, sometimes we have what we call, we have to satisfy other people first. And because of that, that self-centered principle is actually being put aside. But then who will actually love you if you don't love yourself to start with? So that's why sometimes, yes, obviously you have to do something for other person, but take care of yourself first. Love yourself first. Be compassionate for yourself first, and know then subsequently you are the master for yourself. You are in charge of yourself. That is the 7 steps that we gone through last week. And subsequently, the most important thing is now the next slide is talking about, we have been going on year in, year out, talk about nation independence. But very seldom actually we look about the so-called our personal independence. So when we go for nation independence, we lose track of ourselves. We still are actually chained somehow. we need to learn how to break that chain. As I said, we change our possible neck, we change our possible waist, we change our possible feet, and we are not able to move as much. So if you were to look at the next slide, it just shows that even though goldfish love or wish to go into another bowl to seek new avenue, to seek to be independent, to do things themselves. Because if you are not independent, it is a crowd, and the crowd actually pull you down badly. So this is very important. You have to learn how to develop your personal independence. And subsequently, the next slide is the one that I talk about. All this while, we have to break the chain. For whatever the chain that is actually controlling us, for whatever the chain that get us stuck, break away from the chain. Only then you can move forward fast. Only then you can move forward for yourself. Only then you know what you really can do, because all this while you were not doing it for yourself, you were doing it for somebody else. So freedom obviously is not absence of commitment. You, if you are wanted to be free, obviously you have to be committed for yourself, right? So the best is to choose and commit yourself and to do what the best that you can do. That is the next slide. If you can see this phrase, freedom is not the absence of commitment. Everybody has to be committed. To build yourself, you have to have commitment. But the ability to choose and commit myself or yourself to what is best for you. To think about what is best for you first before what is best for other people. And subsequently, as you know, the next slide says, true freedom is when the individual thoughts and actions are in line with which is true, correct, and of honor. No matter, even though you have to pay a personal price sometimes. People don't like you. People push you away. People misunderstand you. But you must know your own self very well. Your thoughts, your feelings, your action. It is must be true for yourself, must be correct for yourself, and you must maintain your honor. So that is very important, because that is meant as true freedom. Because people who are not free, basically, they are not in a line for themselves, and they have to try to be aligned for other people. That is the issue here. And this is another phrase that I can say. If you look at the next slide, when values, thoughts, feelings, and actions are in line, a person becomes focused and the character is strengthened. So you want to build yourself better, your character has to be strong. Your character has to be fully equipped. Your character has to be actually honored, not by yourself alone, but by people around you. Excuse me. And that's the subsequent slide talks about why importance of being independent in life. First and foremost, it gives you values, it gives you self-esteem, it gives you self-worth, it makes you feel yourself is very meaningful to you and subsequently to other people around you. And it actually motivates you, and it develops you to persevere, and it actually fosters your ability to be self-reliant. So that is the reason why you need to be independent. If any of these are still not there with you, it just says that possibly you are not a true free person yet. You have not achieved what we call independence for yourself, because somehow you don't feel good about yourself. Somehow you don't feel worth about yourself. Somehow you easily lose to any situation that you are in. That indicates that you are not really a person that has developed to that sense of what I call a true free person. And so there are ways of getting to be more independent and less codependent. That will be in the next slide. And so the next slide says that you have to know yourself, you have to challenge your belief and assumption. A lot of people doesn't move forward because they have the wrong belief. They believe that other peoples are the one who dictate them. They actually stuck with the external factors that is not their control or beyond their control. They have assumption. They think that they cannot be who they want to be because they assume people doesn't allow them to be what they want to be. So these are the issues that we have. So you have to challenge your belief. You have to challenge your assumption. And then only then you become assertive. And by rather than you become passive person or you become aggressive person or you become passive aggressive person, this attitude is not good for you. But if you have an assertive nature person, then people will respect you very well because you know what is right, what is wrong, how to put those things in perspective. And people will reckon you significantly because you assert yourself very well. So it is very important. And so start by making your own decision. Don't let other people decide for you. Make your own decision. Meet your own needs and learn to be self-compassion. Learn to be self-kind because then you are who you are. You are not relying on people. You are not dependent on other people to move your life forward. So these are the things that you should be looking at. Subsequently, what does being independent means to me, to you, to everyone? It is that you are free from other influence or control of other people. You are for yourself. That is the next slide. You are free from the influence or control of another person or another element, and someone who lives on their own, and then they can support for themselves. This is where actually, if you are really independent person, you don't worry about what happens around you because you know how to bring yourself well. You know how to actually support yourself. You know how to actually build and become who you are, as what the phrases says, wherever that you have been pushed to, you still can survive very well. That is called a very good emotional intelligence. And subsequently, you know how to prioritize, and then you also know how to make tough decisions without even thinking so much about it. A lot of people, to make a particular decision, sometimes it takes so long because they have second thoughts, they have third thoughts, they have many thoughts, they are worried about other person's thoughts. These are all the hindrance for you to become a true free person. So today, what I'm going to do, this is the slide for this week. It is about actually building your resources. So to do that, let us go to this slide. Next slide, please, Felicia. And this slide talks about your personal resources. So in your personal resources, I want you to remember these terminologies. There are 5 terminologies that you need to know very well to know what personal resources mean. Personal resources talk about your skills. Personal resources talk about techniques that you know how to use and what to use it for, to express yourself emotionally, to express yourself intellectually, to express yourself in a social situation, and to express yourself physically. So personal resources talk about body, talk about social, talk about intelligence, talk about emotion, and possibly here also, possibly we can also build in ourselves, talk about our spiritual nature, our spiritual being, and the 5 key terminology you need to know. First, you must have a very strong power of imagination. Imagination begins with an idea, and ideas, and you can vision the ideas, you can put them into picture, you can see it clearly in your mind. Only then you can move forward to build your personal resources. And subsequently, if you have those ideas, focus on them, concentrate on them, and pay close attention for those things that you want to have. Because a lot of time, all of us, are distracted, lose focus. We don't know what we really want. That's why we are actually just flow with what the situations are. And that doesn't take us anywhere because we are not in charge. We allow ourselves to be just dragged out and away from things that, from the goals, from the objective, from things that we really want. So you must have a full focus and full concentration. And subsequently, you must be a person who always observe, have a very keen eye, know how to look for, know how to observe for things around you. Take notice, build your power of vision, be your build your power of seeing. Only then you can build your personal resources. And subsequently, not only look outside, also look within you. Self-awareness. See what you have, how you want to reach your goal, right? And turn your commitment into what we call a prolonged, what we call internal motivation. What we want you to have is a discipline to get those things happen. You must be committed. You must be internally motivated because you know what you want, how and the success that you want to reach. The future success, the bridge is about knowing your resources. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities? And what are your threats? So do the SWOT analysis. Look at things around you. What do you have? A lot of people forgot about what they already have. Example, most of us are already academically achieved. Most of us actually have some kind of a career. Most of us actually financially is quite satisfactory. Maybe not to what we really expect, but at least we are more comfortable than many people. Unfortunately, we did not look at those things. We just look and harbor ourselves at the thing that we don't have, when actually we have more that we should see first. By looking at that, only then we can feel good about ourselves. So this is where we call, you must learn how to do self-awareness. Because again, without self-awareness, then you cannot have social awareness. Again, without self-awareness, you cannot improve yourself. Then success will come in very easily because we have a lot of goals. Every day, most of us have goals, but we don't really accomplish it. Why we don't accomplish it? Because we are actually losing all those points that I mentioned earlier. We have ideas, but we never develop the ideas. Our imagination can be very short-sighted. We did not see beyond. We cannot focus. We did not observe, seeing people around us, how they do it, how the good one will actually achieve very well, how the bad one or the poor one did not achieve. We need to observe all those things. That is where we can learn from all. So these 5 items is very important. But what I'm focusing for these with you is basically what I call your psychological capital. That is the next slide. Excuse me. Build your psychological capital. So now we focus on how to build your mind, how to build yourself by looking at the psychology for you. All right. So looking at that, it is actually, I can tell you, there is a lot of things. Here we talk about the concept. Right. To start with, psychological capital is defined as someone's positive psychological state of development. That is why somehow, I'm not too sure what has happened. We are so good at being a negative person. We are already very highly achieved to be a negative person. That means actually we have the ability to be great. But unfortunately, we are great for the wrong reason. We are great the negative way. We actually then can also switch ourselves to be great positively then. If you can be great negatively, that means we can switch ourselves easily to be great positively. So this is what we talk about psychological capital. First and foremost, you have to have confidence to take on and put in the necessary effort to succeed at whatever task that you need to do. That is called the word self-efficacy. Have the confidence. I tell you frankly, all of us have the ability. But why are we not confident? Because we don't know how to go about doing it. Because we are not having a proper mentor to actually help us out. Possibly because we don't have the right body to assist us to be confident for ourselves. And unfortunately, for some of us, we have been from young until the age that we are in now. We may be developed in a very faulty manner. So our development from young could be the one that causes to lose self-esteem, to lose self-confidence. Excuse me. And secondly, you have to have what we call positive attribution. And that is the key for being optimism about succeeding now and the future. You don't look at things in a pessimist way. You think that things cannot happen for you. Then that defeats yourself. You must have this positive attribute that is very optimistic about being successful. I can tell you frankly, basically, all of us, before we were questioning ourselves, but then now we notice that we have gone through it and we have succeeded going above it. So that means we can be very successful. That sometimes we do have questions, sometimes we do have doubt, but rather than be a pessimist person, why don't we take to look at ourselves in an optimist? So that is why it's very important. We are so good at being a negative person, then that means we can also equally be good to change ourselves, to switch ourselves to become a positive person. And then the most important thing is persevere. Go for it. Don't give up. Do it. Persevere towards the goal, whatever necessary. Redirect the path sometimes. If the first path is not doing well, have contingency plan. Go for another trail, go for another path, go for another track. You still can reach the end point because sometimes the track that we use are quite faulty in a way. So persevere and look for more and more possible ways to achieve it because there is not only one way to achieve whatever that you want to achieve. And when beset by the problem and adversity, you can bounce back. You can always keep up. You can always, once down, you can always rise up. That is the problem. The loser is the one who wants to stay down and doesn't want to come up. But the winner will always have challenges. They may actually fall down. They may actually stoop low, but they really always rise up to the occasion to attain success. And this is called resiliency. So with this concept, this is why I want to introduce to you this acronym HERO. HERO, right? This is the key for your psychological capital. Hero, H is for hope, E is for self-efficacy, R is for resilience, and O is for your optimism. Can we go for the next slide, Felicia? So let us look into the detail of what hero means. Tonight, I'm going to focus on these four things because if unless all these develop very well, I can tell you your resources will be very abundant. You don't lack any resources at all. Even though if you don't have it now, you know how to look for it. You know how to get it. You know how to achieve it. Hope is basically a sense of energy to persevere towards your goal through proactive planning. So that is what hope is all about. A lot of people somehow what we call lose hope. lost hope, become hopeless. Then they become helpless. And when they become helpless, then they become worthless. And when they become worthless, that's where sometimes the decision is so bad that they can hurt themselves. So that is the key. When you lose hope, you may actually track into what we call emotional distress. That is where we have to really look at our hope that we have within ourselves. Then subsequently, Felicia, can we move to the next slide where this will detail it? Okay, efficacy. What does efficacy mean? Efficacy is that when you believe in your own ability to produce positive results and to achieve whatever your defined or desired goal. So that is when this is where the key from being an efficient and an effective person. Effective person will do the right thing. An efficient person will do the right thing once without have to repeat it again. So once you do it the right thing and you don't need to repeat it again, that means you are not only efficient, but you're also efficacy. You know how to do it once and then you get it done and you don't have to revisit the thing that you want to do. That will be a waste of time. That's what we call efficiency and efficacy. And subsequently, we look at the word resilient. What does this word mean? Resilient is a positive way of coping, even when it seems there are no solution to a negative situation. You still hold on strong. You still actually stand strong. You can stand tall. You can still withstand all those challenges, all those obstacles. That is when you become a very self-resilient. And subsequently, you look at things in an optimist way. This optimism means you being and remaining positive despite whatever the situation is. You are positive about your personal success now and in the future. You don't look back and brag about what the past has been for you, but you look for now. And from now, you can move forward because every now, every successful now means the future will be successful because the future depends on now, today. If today is right, then obviously, if tomorrow is right, then obviously the subsequent day is always right, then your future will always be right. So live in the present. This is where we call mindfulness about your daily life and living. The next slide, please. This shows that despite you are separated, despite you are lag behind, despite it appears to be like there is no hope, but there are people who will extend their hand. There are people who will want to take you along, and that is where the hope is. Always look at things you're hopeful about, right? You don't become hopeless. You don't see yourself as though you defeat yourself saying that there is no way out. This picture depicts how a hope is there because people are always there. So this is the caption is very important caption. There is always light in spite of being surrounded by darkness. You'll be surprised sometimes your vision is too narrow, your vision is too short, you can't see beyond. But always remember there are bigger picture to think. So this is where hope is. You can see light even though if you are not seeing it yet and you are stuck in complete darkness. Because if you have hope, things will be going better for you. And again, in hope, the next slide tells you once you choose hope, anything is possible. So there is no such thing as impossible. Everything is possible because you're very hopeful about those things you can't. The problem is it appears to be impossible because you did not find a proper way to deal with it. I can tell you in life and living, everything has ways, everything has choice and techniques that you need to know. Until unless you are in control, knowing all these skills, then actually nothing is possible. And the caption that goes along here also says that let your hopes, not your hurts, shape your future. People, once they got hurt, they got stuck. They don't think so that they can be hopeful anymore. They defeat themselves. They punish themselves. They have a very negative outlook about things for themselves. This is because they don't have hope. They only look at their hurt, and that is where they might not see the future. So I think it's very important. This caption is very true. Let your hopes, not your hurt, stop you from shaping your future. And subsequently, this slide talked about the eight heroes. That means here we talk about self-efficacy also. And self-efficacy talks about one, it is about your physical and emotional state, how they are, what kind of sensation you have. So this is very important because if the physical and emotional state defeat yourself, then you're not efficient, then you're not self-efficacious. And if your imagination experience, if you cannot visualize yourself with the future success, then actually you are a person who doesn't really have that strong element to achieve efficiency in yourself. Then you must also look at your past performance. What makes you actually not doing it right? Means how you can learn from the past experience, the performance that you had, and how you can improve them. And then look at the other element of also what we call the vicarious experience. Observe experiences or model by others. You can look at other people, how they succeed, how they fail, how they move up, how they fall. And this is where you learn to be better yourself. You also know how to actually look for social coaching, social feedback, social persuasion. And this is where we are here together. We can try to build together. As I said, no one can live on their own, possibly without learning from their buddy, from the friends around them, or from their mentor, or from their coach, or from the expert, or from the therapy. They must know how to use all those elements around them to achieve self-efficacy. Right. Let us look again at self-efficacy. Here we talk about, right, an active self-mastery, failure of success or success of actual performance. If you were to see at your left-hand side, the effectiveness from low to high, if you can learn from your failure, if you can enhance your success further, then you can actually move up the ladder to become more and more efficacious and to actually believe in your capacity to be successful in performing anything that you want. And subsequently, as I said, look into people, role model upon all those people who appear to be successful now, but you'll be surprised to know that they were before also failing many failures, having a lot of issues. Then subsequently they rise up, they learn from those things. So observe, visualize that you can also achieve like how they achieve, and also do what we call this verbal social persuasion. You can talk to yourself, you can listen to people's talk, you can actually learn from others, and also you can also look at yourself, the physiological cues, your emotional state. So a lot of people did realize, they know that they are feeling low for themselves, but they did not take the cues. Why should they feel low? How can we then overcome this feeling of being sad, being lonely, in their own emotion? So take these physiological cues. Take that with. If something is not right, make it right. If something is in a way stop you from moving forward because of your emotional state, get someone to assist you to look into this emotional state. Then only you can become very well efficacy, self-efficacy. And again, when we talk about the R, just now we talk about the hero, right? A, hope. E, stand for efficacy. Now we look for R, the resilient. Resilient in the definition means advance despite adversity. You still move forward, even though you can actually move. There's wall. There are things that stop you from moving. You can then walk around it. You can then climb over it. So this is how you are resilient. You still move forward because the wall doesn't stop you. That is why the keyword is advancing despite adversity. You can only advance if you got goal and then you work towards your vision. And this despite means you are not a reactive person. You are a very proactive person. You don't wait for things to happen. You make things happen. And adversity can be big, can be small challenges. So you are ready to face the adversity. And this is what I call human. There has ability, agility, and adaptability. We are always have that element. Once we are facing with problem, we can improve ourselves. We are very agile. We are very adaptable. That's why we have our mind. We have our intellect. Use your intellect. Use your psychology mind. Use your spiritual mind to overcome all these issues of adversity. Then you become more and more resilient. There are 6 domains to be resilient. One, you must have the vision. And let's move to the next slide. The vision talks about the purpose, talks about the goals, talks about the congruency. So that is number one. You must have the vision. Then you must be composed. A person who is actually cool, calm, collected, composed, know how to then regulate the emotion, know how then to look for things that possibly are their prejudices, their biases, and then they can achieve what we call calm and control, right? And once they are calm and control, they regulate the emotion, they become self-aware, and they can manage their stress. So these are the second domain of being resilient. A person who is very composed, then they know how to reason things out, the reasoning. And based on that, they have a good judgment. They are very resourceful. They can anticipate and plan. They can have what we call ability to solve problems. They are a very good problem solver. Then they also look at their health with regard to again and again and again. All the three of us are trying to push forward this idea, the nutrition, the rest and the recreation, the exercise, the psychological being, and the spiritual being is very important in your health. And subsequently, the word called tenacity. Tenacity means you are very strong, you are very persistent, you are resilient, you can bounce back, you're optimist, and that is where you are a tenacity person. All right, and then you know how to collaborate with people. The collaboration talks about you know how to network, you know how to have what we call the social contact, you know then how to be again and again. I keep pushing this intelligence, emotional intelligence. So these are the 6 domains. If you were to look the next slide, we talk about the same domain. We try to explain the same thing that we have from the one that you had right now to the one that we are talking the next slide. It is just to make sure that you understand how to be a resilient person. And then talk about the practices, how to be resilient in your practices. Again, Felicia, Coach Francis, talk about exercise, talk about physical exercise. I talk about mental, I talk about mindfulness, I talk about how you can reorientate your mind. Then I also talk about the emotion health, the emotional health, then how you can favor your emotion to the proper emotion. Then your social connection. So once you have these 4 big elements, they intertwine, they actually overlap in terms of your contact, in terms of being a person with gratitude, in terms of a person who can rest well, and in terms of a person who knows how to reappraise, how to re-look at yourself. So if you can do all these 8 practices, You can be a very tough person, resilient to face anything. This is where, if you look at the picture tells you about you're very well rooted. Go for the next slide, please. So it is a well-rooted person who does not shake easily. This is what resilience is all about. You stand firm. You know your roots very clearly. You are not shaky. You are not easily fall off because when it is blown away by something that could hurt you. So it's very important. And the last O talks about optimism. If we to look at the picture, if you're optimist, you look at the glass not half empty. You look at the glass half full. You always have what we call, there is always a silver lining in the black cloud. You always say yes. You always have good thoughts. There's always rainbow in your mind. You always have, how should I say, this chirpy feeling in you, the happiness in you, right? Everything good for you, right? Your thoughts are clear. So because you are very optimist person, and optimism is very important. Let us move to the next slide. So be optimist, right? Once you be optimist, then you can overcome all these issues of a person who cannot move forward. Because once you're optimist, nothing stops you. Right? So this is where if we move to the next slide, we talk about I can do it. It's not I can't do it. You are always, you can do it. The only thing is that what stops you from doing it, what stops from you doing it is your ability to try it out, to challenge yourself, to face the difficulties. But then, again, as I said, you can do it alone and you can do it with friends around you, with proper network, with people to support you. So that will make things easy for you. So look for it in a very positive manner now. There's no such thing as I can't do it, but you can always do it. And you look at the next slide. There's all the picture of what we call optimism is all about. First and foremost, right? Positive thinking, open mind, right? Be what we call smile, exercise, breathe, listen to people, chat with people, go for a walk, cook, go for your hobby, and then always have this word: forgive, forgive, forgive. Don't put things inside you. Don't try to be so feeling bad about things that happen by someone to you. Just forgive and move on. If you cannot forgive, then you are stuck. You can't move forward. And sometimes, like me now, I spend time with nature. I do find way for my self-care. And I hope all of you can do that whenever the opportunity is there. You can actually can ground in yourself. That's where we call walk barefoot. Because actually you'll be surprised, there's element of magnetism between you and the earth and things of that nature. We have forgotten ourselves, how to ground it ourselves or grounding ourselves. All right, so what it is all about now? Psychological capital. Talk about hope, talk about efficacy, talk about resiliency, talk about optimism, and that will lead into performance, effective, efficient, outcome-based performance, and you are satisfied with yourself. So this is where I want psychological capital. And look at think positive. It will lead you to be happy person. It will lead you to be motivated person. It will make you enterprising. It will make you more imaginative. You become optimistic. You become determined. You become strong, and you have encourage. You encourage yourself. So that is why mind is very important. Positive mind will defeat any any form of negativity and anything that actually issues that stop you from moving forward. And the last slide talking about beside the psychological capital, there are other resources that possibly you need to consider. One is a social support. Second is your emotional support. So do have friends, do talk to adults, do actually trust people around you. they can make a difference. Who actually talk to your therapist? Sometimes you need to have someone, an expert, to assist you. Do go for your own self time, me time. Go for a walk, and always talk about I statement, and talk through the conflict about you can, I can, I will. There's no such thing as all this about other people. All right, and possibly you can relax yourself, go for the nature, listen to the music. So these are other resources. So I finished my slide. So I hope we can talk about it. So that is a connection between the first week. We talk about the Merdeka Me. We talk about the personal independent. We don't really talk more about the nation independent before we become independent. And now build your resources. So this is all connected, and subsequently later, right, we can go into our third topic. Okay, Felicia.
All
I
right.
hope take so much of the time.
Yes, thank you, Prof. I think this is a very, very solid, a very complete and complete topic about, that this is a very, again, a very power-packed one. I think it's perfectly sum up with like, when you talk about building resources, it's like being your own hero, right? How to be the hero.
Yeah, be your own hero.
Right. And yeah, being your own hero, like you always mentioned, you always stressed in the past, I mean, in all the previous sessions, is that you do not need to be independent to be be a hero. You don't need to do it yourself. It's not about just independent on your own. It's about being interdependent. Because you speak a lot about having other people at, the external environment support. So I think that's really, really important. And yeah, I really like the one that you mentioned. You highlighted a lot on efficacy and also resilience. Um, Perfectly sum up, in terms of how do you continuously bounce back, right? Advancing despite adversity. Yeah,
Yeah.
one slide that you mentioned. So so it is very very, very powerful. And I feel I think during this time we always talk about how do you power through, especially during lockdown. And then now we are actually going back, now it's not really like just a hope, right? Now we are really going back into the new norm. So it's important to unlock, getting unstuck, and working on really, of all the resilience and the hope, and also the all this ability to like believe in yourself, and you work on your self-care, self-love. I think throughout the pandemic, I think everybody has at one point done all the work, and now it's really to be optimistic, about what's going to be happening next. It's not being like blindly going into it, but I feel that with all this equipped with, the hope, efficacy, resilience, and optimism, we are able to really like, yeah, having self mastery for us to really go move forward, to live the new norm. Perhaps maybe the question would be, how, if let's say, okay, this is like thinking a little bit backwards, right? So if somebody who decided to like listen to this today, and then they're like, I don't know if I have prepared, or I don't know what to expect, where do I start?
Okay.
For the
The question,
benefit of like those people who's like, just beginning, like, am I too late, like, yeah.
yeah. The question is, until unless you realize that you want to do something about it. Before that question, at least you already realize that you need to do something about it. The worst of a person is they don't even able to see it. Now you can see it. After listening, now you know, oh my God, I was, and I cannot be in that position anymore. So this is where I said, if you can't see the way, let someone shine the light for you. If you need someone to assist you, help you, hold your hand, start the journey, then let it be. Allow people to do it for you. But as I said, there are three elements in each and every one of us. If you want to change, if you want to switch, if you want to transform, if you want to change your paradigm, to shift, first you must realize something is not proper. Second, you accept it. Third, you want to do something about it. And number four, allow someone to assist you. Because alone, as I said, even me as a psychiatrist, if I'm stuck alone, I cannot solve the problem. I need someone to show me the way because I can't think well for myself. So that's why these four elements very important. So be
Right.
who is open and wanting to make a difference for yourself.
Nice. Okay, great. So yeah, so the key is to, if you know that you want to do something, that's the beginning already. Like also I think you mentioned during the your presentation is that um your, it's like not letting your mistakes haunt you, or let your past uh, decide to not let it define you. and
Yes,
and yeah, everybody makes mistake, and then don't be too hard on yourself. I think, yeah, you mentioned also be kind to yourself the last week as well. And I really like the part where you mentioned all these different tools to help us, finding from meaning and purpose to being calm and in control, regulating our emotions, to adaptability and problem solving, and yeah, to health. Basically, if you do not feel well, you won't do well, right? So it's really going back to basic, having a quality of sleep, good nutrition, regular exercise, which is what we preach. We not only preach, we actually walk the talk as well. And that's where we're able to show up. Like you said, a psychiatrist will also need somebody to talk to. For
yes,
us, if we are physical trainers and wellness and coaches, and even if you talk about mental health, we bring the light as well, but we have to continuously work on ourselves. We need our support as well. And it's not by saying it, but it's by doing it, then we are able to inspire others, right? Yeah, and definitely the two most important things is the strong relationships. That's what we are having now. I think even though we don't talk to each other on a daily basis, but we catch up once a week. As also like with some of my trainer friends and also friends and colleagues, we have this network, and because we have this trust that we've built, and we have invested in it, and we continue to work on it. And it's almost like on a spiritual level that we are sending each other signal, right? Without talking to each other. So that's where the power of prayers and thoughts and prayers, right? And the last one is you touched on the point, persistence and the ability to bounce back. That is really, really important. It's okay. What's past is in the past. What's more importantly is not just the future, because the future sometimes it may be too far away. Because some people may not see tomorrow, right? They may only see today. So let's take today and make the best of it. And knowing that it's about realistic optimism, right? So it's seeing the glass half full, but we are constantly working on ourselves. And yeah, and that's how we stay motivated, right? So yeah, I think a lot of the ones that you've been sharing is really like power pack. I think we are taking time to uh taking time to sort of digest it as well. And yeah, definitely I would like to read a little bit more on the psychological capital that you mentioned. And it's really interesting because there's Oxford University Press has actually have articles and studies on it, and it's talking about bouncing back and beyond. So yeah, it's really talking about resilience. And yeah, and I was reading some of. It's interesting that when you mention all this week 1 and week 2, week 3, week 4 topics, that I picked up a book again by Stephen Covey. It's an old book, but it actually mentions all the dimensions that you were talking about. It's a book by him called First Things First.
yes,
Yeah, so of course, we have the 7 and 8 habit, and this is essentially what the 4 weeks are based on. But the First Things First book is actually really good. It's actually an old book that I took. I had it in my library for a while, but reading those help me to actually digest what is being presented by you as well. Yeah. So maybe any last any summary that you would like to do, maybe like what will be a good assignment for us to reflect for this coming week?
Okay, basically the first thing I want you to remember is that always remember a single strand can always break easily, but if the strands of a group, it will be tough, very difficult to break. That means don't try to do things alone all the time. Know that we have our limitation. So try to move together, because when we are together, we are stronger. Even though this other word that I want to mention is that the difference between codependent and interdependent. Now, when we codependent, as though that actually we are still very dependent on someone. But interdependent means, yes, we actually depend with each other, but we are on ourselves, knowing how to bring ourselves along with people around us. So that's why Stephen Covey talk about, when you are young, you are a dependent person. And when you become adult, you become independent, but never to forget. There's always what we call interdependent. You need people, you need to depend on other people for certain things, but you are still your independent self. So I think that is another key. Another key that I think we learn from Stephen Covey is with regard to basically the principle center. Yeah, if your principal center is based on other people, if your principal center is based on external factor, you're going to get into trouble, because you can't satisfy everyone. You can't actually manage external factor. Your principal center must be self-centered. Even though people say you may be selfish, no, you're not. You self-love. You care for yourself first, because nobody can be kind to you unless you be kind to yourself. Nobody can love you unless you love yourself first. So that's why it is not selfish. So they understand that. I think all this was mentioned in Stephen Covey's effective habits and how to be a good person in that sense, where we can take note actually how we should be living. Yeah. So that could be my take home message. If ever we can always actually start a book club talking about Stephen Covey's book. Maybe if you're interested, we can discuss about all what he mentioned in his books, right? So I think that will be my possible take home message for tonight.
Right. I think that's great. Yeah. Anything from you, Coach Francis?
Thank you so much, Prof. That's a good framework. It's very solid. So what I've been doing at the 5 a.m. club, we're talking about self-love, self-care. Wow. Everything has to go through the process in order to get move closer and closer. But at least now we have a framework. We got a big picture.
Mm,
What it takes to be there, so you don't go blindly.
yeah,
Thank you so much. Great.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
Right.
This is our sharing. I think all of us know about it. Sometimes we just overlook it. You know.
Mm. Yeah, I want to echo back what Prof was saying, the independent and being interdependent. Um, it's it's really coming together. It's like, the it's like our peribahasa is like, bersatu kita teguh, bercerai kita roboh, right? Yeah. So it's more important. You see, if we work on ourselves, if we just work on one thing, and when we come together, it's so powerful. And it's definitely in a lot of wisdom saying that, when 2 or 3 people come together, yeah, even if a couple of people are listening, and the conversation spark after this session, it's going to be very, very powerful. And that's where we create a better ecosystem, we create a better environment, not only ourselves, because we start with ourselves first, and then the people around us will be affected as well, because we start the ball rolling, right? Yeah, I think with this, it's really good to now understand, what it takes to build skills, to building our resources, right? To spot on opportunities. It's all about that. So when you know the different self-love, self-care, realization, all these things that you work on your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, then you'll be able to be very clear, have clarity to how you're gonna build your build your skills to seek the opportunities around us. So yeah, so I think with that, enjoy your camping.
Last word.
Yes,
One
Yeah.
last word. Create a wave.
create a wave from the waves of Teluk Senangin.
Be together. It's a very strong wave. It
Yeah,
can shape the beach. It can move things around.
nice.
Create that wave.
Yes, create the wave, right? Yeah. So it's really amazing that now that we are coming, yeah, we are also celebrating our Malaysia Day on the 16th of September. So it's a really great reminder, that coming together, whether it's the nation or whether it's personal and your people around you in your community, and move towards that, then you'll be able to create a wave. I think that's a really great message, Prof. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us.
Yes.
And yeah, next week, just to do a little bit plug in on next week. So we will have our third week. All right. So our third week will be talking about sharing the wealth. Right. So how do we start giving back to our community? So may the first and second week that we have taken, all these things, and let us really be mindful, and let's work within ourselves. And then next week we will be talking about how do we share the abundance, right? Not sharing, each people we give 50 ringgit. Yeah, so this is sharing, I think, more than just the money. So it's wisdom and abundance. So we hope that we will be able to do that through this platform, under PRKPP and Fit Unit, by bringing you good mental health, good physical health, and also we cover all the areas, aspects of our life. And that's where we'll be wishing everybody to stay safe once again. And we'll see you next week. And have a good weekend, everybody.
All right.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody. Good
Enjoy, Prof.
night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye. Good night,
Bye.
everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy.